Within about 5 minutes, I realised how wrong I had been to prejudge a game that I hadn't actually played. Sam's cup of tea. Sam's cup of tea. Now, if you've been a gamer for any significant amount of time, you've probably been in the position where you've prejudged a game having not played it. Maybe you've seen a trailer, maybe you've seen gameplay footage, and you've just thought, no, it's not for me. Whether it's graphically or whether it's the way that the mechanics work, maybe the game's too cartoonish, maybe it's too realistic, whatever. But you've prejudged a game only later to find out that you were wrong, that actually having played it, the feeling of the game in your hands is a completely different beast. And that would be the case with me for Call of Duty Cold War very recently. I fell into that unfortunate trap of looking at some footage and thinking I knew what it was. But games are different to films. Games are their own unique thing. They are meant to be played, not just watched. We live in an age where a lot of people watch games now on places like Twitch and YouTube, but games weren't originally invented or even designed that way. I'd say that still games are designed primarily to be played, and watching is secondary. Now, I've played the last couple of Call of Duties recently. Call of Duty Black Ops was the last Treyarch in 2018, and I wasn't quite that impressed with it. I had fun with the game, but it was still that over-the-top. They had the operator abilities, which added too much mayhem, in my opinion, to an already chaotic game. In every Call of Duty, you've got people running around with guns, which is usually fun, but then you've got the UAVs and the airstrikes and the helicopters. And then when they added in those abilities for operator abilities, it was just you were just dying for all manner of reasons that didn't make sense. But Black Ops 4 was significant for a few reasons. First being that they sacrificed the campaign. They stopped making a story mode. And they favoured instead to focus on the multiplayer and Battle Royale, which has been the big thing over the past kind of 3-4 years. Now, the Battle Royale that they made was really, really successful. I had a bit of fun on it, but I wasn't very good on it. I didn't really like the mechanics, but it was really successful, really popular. And so Infinity Ward were next up. Every single year, Treyarch does one game, then the next year, Infinity Ward does that. And it's been the same for over a decade. And it's been very successful for them. The only thing, however, has been innovation. There's been a huge lack of innovation with the new Call of Duties, especially in the last 10 years. It felt like Call of Duty hit a certain point, and a lot of the innovations were very, they didn't really change the core of the game. That was until Infinity Ward last year came out with Modern Warfare. It felt like a complete overhaul of the engine, something completely different. And it felt like a return to the roots of 2007's Call of Duty Modern Warfare. The game that was sort of more focused on the campaign, but just happened to really, really hit it off with the multiplayer. And from there on, Call of Duty became something different. Back in Call of Duty Modern Warfare in 2007, the game was more subtle in the campaign. It wasn't just about the big Hollywood thrills and the huge explosions. There were quieter, more carefully created missions, like that mission in Chernobyl where you're in the ghillie suits, and if you've played it, you know what I'm talking about. But then, by the time it had gotten so big, Modern Warfare 2 and every single game after that was about huge big skyscraper explosions and over-the-top Hollywood bullshit, really, in my opinion. That's what the campaigns were filled with, and multiplayer was just chaotic scenes after chaotic scenes. I played a bit of Black Ops, the original Black Ops, which was really great fun. But just overall, Call of Duty didn't really grab me for a long time. And recently, with the Modern Warfare, Infinity War really threw a spanner in the works in terms of this wasn't just another entry into Call of Duty. This was really changing things. The campaign felt more like a return to the roots. It was more realistic. The graphics and the gun animation seemed more grounded in reality. The sound design was more akin to Battlefield, more realistic, more boisterous. And the multiplayer added new modes like 2v2, which felt very stripped back and raw and took advantage of that real visceral nature of the new Call of Duty. It didn't rely on the crazy stuff going on, the UAV strikes. It was more about gun battles and one-on-one, 2v2. And along with the campaign and the usual team deathmatch, the 6v6 modes that we're used to, the 2v2 like I mentioned, They also added an innovative mode called Ground War, which was 32v32 and vehicles. This was a direct answer to Battlefield, and it was kind of like the Call of Duty equivalent to Battlefield. Now, what I will say is that although this was impressive, I found Ground War to be unbalanced and a bit messy. It was a bit of a laugh, and at first it did seem a little bit too good to be true. Vehicles, 32v32 in Call of Duty, can they do this? Can it work? Battlefield's been doing it for years. And the answer is yes and no. It was fun and it's great and it worked on a technical level. But the problem was they didn't have much experience in this field. And as a result, the game was very chaotic, dying every few seconds just from bullets from everywhere, many different sight lines. And there are stark differences between Battlefield and Call of Duty. For example, Battlefield isn't quite as tight a shooter, but Call of Duty has laser-like precision, right? You need to design the maps with a lot of care, taking into account how many sightlines are in a certain mode. But this mode just had buildings with different windows and 10-story, 20-story buildings. You could get shot from anywhere. And because anyone can kind of laser onto you with fucking laser-like precision with an assault rifle, with a sniper rifle, with a rifle, it was just chaos. And it wasn't exactly balanced and it felt like a mess. But technically, they'd achieved it, and they'd moved Call of Duty forward. And then on top of that, months later, they dropped Warzone, and Warzone was their answer to Battle Royale. Now, it wasn't the first Call of Duty to make a Battle Royale, but it was the first Call of Duty to make a Battle Royale that went huge, that was right there rivaling Fortnite and Apex Legends and the big ones. Warzone has quickly become its own thing, separate from Modern Warfare. Not only is it free, it's its own downloadable game in a way. And many people haven't even played Call of Duty Modern Warfare, instead just focusing on Warzone. Warzone has a huge map, Verdansk, and it's over 120 players. It's a technical marvel and it's brilliant. It's a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun on that game. I'm not very good at it. I never do well. I think the solo mode has a lot of problems. And even though the map design is very technically beautiful and well designed, it's not well designed on a level of balance. I feel like there are, again, too many sight lines and too many ways to get hit. And Infinity Ward seemed to prioritize realistic maps and realistic design over actual functionality and fun and balance. And now this is where Treyarch come in with their new game. We're currently in September, and Call of Duty Cold War at the end of August, beginning of September, began to release promotional material for their new Call of Duty. And everybody's been wondering, what are Treyarch going to do? What is their answer to Warzone, which is still being played exclusively now on Warzone? Are they going to have to build a new Battle Royale? How is their version going to topple this? And not only that, Infinity Ward had kind of, like I said, thrown a spanner in the works with a brand new engine. Were Treyarch going to be up to the task? And when the first promotional material, the first trailer, the first gameplay footage came out, I really wasn't convinced. My first impression was that, here we'd taken a huge step forward last year with Modern Warfare, with really realistic gun animations and a kind of engrossing thing. It freshened up a franchise that was, frankly, getting a bit stale, especially for me and a lot of people I know. And you know a game's big when casual gamers, people that aren't really big gamers, were telling me that they were playing Warzone and they were streaming on their Twitch channels. That's when you know a game is big, and that's what Modern Warfare managed to do. And I would argue that was because of a new, fresh approach. So what I was seeing of Call of Duty Cold War was kind of a little bit of a step backwards. It seemed like a Call of Duty Black Ops 4.5, a sequel to that game with a similar engine. It didn't seem to have as impressive sound design and graphics, and it seemed to be veering very closely to the arcadey style of Black Ops as well. And overall, I just wasn't impressed, and there wasn't really any mention of a Battle Royale mode, and so I was like, you know what? And I actually considered skipping this installment completely and waiting for Infinity Ward's next installment. That was until they released a PlayStation 4 exclusive alpha, which was available a couple of weeks ago, just for a weekend. And it was free, and I didn't have to pre-order the game. There wasn't anything like that. So I thought, why not? I'll just do it. It was kind of morbid curiosity. And, within about 5 minutes, I realized how wrong I had been to prejudge a game that I hadn't actually played. Immediately off the bat, I was having such fun. Now, it was 6v6 modes mainly. There were also a big mode. I'm not sure how big they were, 12v12 or 24v24. But I mostly played the 6v6 modes, the traditional ones, Team Deathmatch, Domination, and Kill Confirmed. Out of those 3 modes, the most fun was Domination. Domination was great, where you take the different points, A, B, C, D, and then it obviously, for bigger maps, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever. And you have to hold those points. And I had such fun on that. With the alpha, they included a bunch of maps. They included Satellite, Miami, Moscow. And then on the bigger modes, which I played less of, there was like a naval ships, like 3 naval ships where you could travel with vehicles, and like a snowy map with snowmobiles and tanks and stuff like that. Satellite, one of the first smaller maps that's been featured, looks like kind of Tatooine from Star Wars Battlefront or something. And it's just brilliant. There's like a desert part on the left side, which snipers kind of occupy, and then there's a more close quarters combat in the rocks. And then there's this kind of down ship in the middle, wreckage, that's kind of like the midpoint, which is the biggest bone of contention, which all the teams are going for. You can get sniped up there. There's airstrikes being carpet bombed. It's just absolute chaos. But I was having such fun. And the first thing that I immediately noticed was the tightness and the improvement in the controls. I actually honestly feel like this is the best controlling Call of Duty I've ever played, even beyond Modern Warfare. The slide mechanic actually feels useful in this. Now, personally for me, and something I didn't realize, at first I appreciated in Modern Warfare the 2-tier sprint system. You know, you've got the normal run, then you've got the sprint, and then you've got where he holds it up, the gun up like that. You've got to click in. This does away with that completely. It's just 1 tier of sprint. And the sliding didn't feel that fast, especially with the restrictive field of view on the consoles on Modern Warfare. It kind of felt like, unless you're doing some kind of, pro tip where you're sliding and you're jumping and you're sliding and you're jumping, whatever, or you're cancelling that out, the slide didn't feel very significant, didn't feel like you travelled far, especially compared to, I play a lot of Apex Legends on console, and the slide feels super useful on that. But Cold War's slide is really, really useful. You feel like you slide forward and you can jump out of it very easily. And within minutes, I was doing that and shooting and stuff. And this game feels very accessible. It feels very agile. It feels very fluid. And the guns feel really fun to play. The audio isn't necessarily at the realistic, boomy level of Modern Warfare, but I didn't mind. I didn't find myself minding at all. And over the course of my playtime, the weekend, I got to use a variety of guns, mostly the assault rifles, but a few SMGs, sniper rifles, and they were all so much fun. They take the design philosophy for the upgrades for the guns from Modern Warfare, but it seems to work better in this because the upgrades seem to make a real difference in the gun, and I had a lot more fun in this game, kind of messing about with that, putting a scope on this and a laser sight on that. And a lot of the guns feel really, really balanced. Now, a lot of people might laugh who've played the alpha and go, yeah, balance my arse. The bloody snipers in this game, yeah, they were massively overpowered. But it was something that I noticed they acknowledged on Twitter, that Treyarch had deliberately bumped up the power of the snipers for some data reason. I don't know if that's an excuse or whatever, but yeah, the snipers were insane. You could literally no scope the sniper really easily, or you could be running and get into this. The amount of times I died for snipers was probably 80% of the time over assault rifles. So that definitely needs fixing. But despite that getting spammed by snipers in close range and long range and every range, I still had a massive blast. And all of the maps seem to have their own design and character and memorable moments. And what I instantly noticed, and this was the contrast to what I'd seen on the gameplay, when I'd not played the game and I'd seen the gameplay footage, I felt like, it's the return to those Treyarch maps that look very, on Modern Warfare. And this is something I thought I'd liked. They allow the player to interact with the maps a lot more, climbing, jumping over walls, jumping on roofs, jumping on cars, opening, closing doors, etc. And Treyarch are a lot more restrictive. It's sort of like the maps there are more like they're designed with blocks, and then they're sort of window dressed with realistic looking things, but you go up to things and it's just just a kind of wall. You can't really hop onto cars or anything like that. And I was kind of like, this feels like a step backwards. But actually, it's not. It actually feels like Treyarch have more deliberately designed their maps with design philosophy and balance in mind. And what that results in is an experience that within minutes you start to get a sort of mental map of the map, if you know what I mean. You sort of get an understanding, and there's such a clear design language in the map that you really very quickly get used to where the blind spots are, where the moments where you're going to take a risk are. And Infinity Ward's maps, I didn't feel that as much. I felt like often I would be getting shot from all angles and didn't really know why, and there wasn't any kind of clear cohesion to the maps. Maybe that's just me, but these maps in particular have a very distinct design, and they work very well in terms of balance. I had some great matches, especially in Domination, which stood out to me as a mode in games like Moscow, where there's like a real middle section with all these different, like there's an escalator, there's a stairs, it's like a square block where all the teams try and take that, and it's just so fun to kind of try and navigate that, and there's all these different entrances to that thing, so defending it is like a real crazy thing, and Satellite is mental, and Miami has a few cool snipe points, and when you would get shot out of nowhere, you'd kind of have an idea of what the angles were, where the snipers would be after playing the map a few times, which is, the mark of a good map. Like I mentioned before, Modern Warfare also featured a ground war mode, which was the vehicles and the 24v24, and this also featured that. And I imagined that would be just like Modern Warfare. It would be this kind of Battlefield-esque style, but in Call of Duty, where you'd just be getting killed constantly every 5 seconds. And actually, it wasn't as true. Yeah, you die more in that than the usual 6v6 modes out of nowhere, but it did feel a little bit more deliberately designed, and actually, I had a lot of fun on those maps. And so I played them less, granted, so I don't want to say definitively that they're amazing, but overall, I had a great time. And I just want to put that out there in this video, that I was wrong about Call of Duty Cold War, and I'm actually now excited about the game coming out in November. We've got a while, and I think the beta is going to be released. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be playing it because I'm waiting for the PS5 in November, so I might just skip the beta and go straight to the game. I'm hoping to play it on PS5 late November when I get the console. So if you're someone who's seen the footage, the gameplay footage, and you haven't actually had a chance to play it yet, and you weren't impressed, say, I would recommend maybe give it another shot. Try and play it somewhere, try and get your hands on it, because you might actually really enjoy this one. So looks can be deceiving, especially with video games. And so I just wanted to put that in this video and make it a document before the game comes out, because we've got a while before the game comes out, right? It's almost October now, and the game's not out till November 13th. So yeah, I hope this video has been informative in some way, and my message is basically that I was wrong about Call of Duty Cold War, and it's probably worth checking out from what I've played. Okay, thanks you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more content. Sam's Cup of Tea, signing off. Sam's Cup